Why? Just because you can doesn't mean you should, but I did it anyways. This is an Xbox One S and X controller, works on all of them, that is entirely analog sticks, and I don't know why. I do know why, but I don't know why. It works like your normal Xbox controller, but instead it has nothing but analog sticks. So the BAXY button, analog stick. D-pad, analog stick. Home, share, back, select, capture, analog stick. Triggers, analog sticks. These right here are for show. They don't do anything. In order to push the right bumper and left bumper, you push the analog sticks. It is so stupid. I just had to make it. And this is going to be given away to one very specific person who I think will appreciate this more than I ever could. So let's see how I made this thing. The analog stick consists of 2 potentiometers as well as a bunch of other stuff. We're only going to focus on the 2 potentiometers for this project. I'm going to modify these to make switches instead of potentiometers. Now, if we just look at the schematic symbol for potentiometer, I can better explain the process. So first, a potentiometer is essentially a resistor with a third pin. That third pin is called the wiper, and this wiper will move left or right along the path of resistance and vary its output based on where it lands. So if this is a 10K potentiometer, which almost all of them are, it should be 5K in the middle, and if you move it closer this way, it's going to decrease in resistance down to about 0 ohms, and same for this way as well. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be cutting out a portion of that resistor and essentially making it into a single pole double throw switch with a little bit of resistance, but it should be fine in this application. Now we have to modify the potentiometers by popping them off the analog stick and then using a scalpel to remove a very small amount of resistive material from the top track. We want this cutout to be the perfect size. We need it dead center up top. We need it to be just small enough to allow for the wiper to rest in the center of it without touching the left or right, but not big enough to where you have to throw the analog stick to a hard right or hard left to complete the circuit. I'll be using this PowerA controller as a sacrificial lamb for this project, as its circuit board is very simple to modify. I believe there's a lot of test points on the inside we can take advantage of, but first let's take it apart. I wanted to give this idea a quick test before I fully commit to it, so I'm going to attach 30 gauge wire to the button contacts of the ABXY buttons and then route them to the modified analog stick. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this thing out. It looks ridiculous with 3 sticks on it. Imagine 2 more, then imagine maybe 2 more to those 2 more for a total of a lot. Let's go ahead and plug it in and see if it works in place of the buttons. So plug in this micro USB cable because they couldn't be bothered to add USB-C. Makes it even easier to destroy this controller. We have the LED lit up. You can see that. Yeah, you can still see it. On the monitor, you can see that the controller check mark is there. So let's go ahead and test this thing out. Start testing this guy right here. And yeah, so up should be Y. And now, since it's still an analog stick, I might be able to hit all the buttons, you know, Y and X at the same time. If that's a problem, I could probably increase the path that I broke, but I don't really care. So up is Y, down should be A, which it is. You can see both of this. Right should be B, which it is, and then left should be X, which it is. So this is Stupid. Let's continue. The circuit board of this controller has to be heavily modified to allow the placement of several analog sticks it clearly wasn't designed for. So here I'm removing the D-pad assemblies for this controller by flooding all the pins with solder, and then I'll run my iron up and down all those joints to keep the solder in a liquidous state, and then just drop that D-pad module right off. And from here I'll just use my desoldering gun to remove all the solder from the holes. To make the wiring for this controller a lot easier, I'll be utilizing the test points on the PCB. These test points are small gold contacts that run in parallel with the contacts of the buttons. To find them, I have to use my multimeter in continuity mode and write them all down to make sure I know where I'm soldering to. To mount the analog sticks to the PCB, I'll be using JB Weld. As you can see here, I also relocated the power indicator LED, so that way we can still see whether or not the controller is turned on. But back to the analog sticks, I'll just go ahead and squish them on top of a dollop of JB Weld. And after 24 hours, the bond should be really strong, and I think it'll hold for a long time. Before we do the wiring for all the modified sticks, I just want to give you a quick overview of what we're doing. We have all the modified analog sticks here. This is essentially one analog stick, this is the second one, and this is the third one. And it works in a very simple way. Each button on the Xbox controller closes to ground, therefore we only need to throw a signal to ground, and the wiper gives us that common pin. The wiper on the potentiometer gives us the ability to throw a button to ground, just using it as a basic switch. So if we look at this analog stick over here, which is the D-pad analog stick, which sounds so dumb saying, we have the bottom potentiometer will be used for the left and right, and you throw the analog stick to the left, it'll activate the D-pad left, and to the right it'll do the right. Same for every other button. So if we look at this, if we throw the analog stick to the left, it'll allow the wiper to touch the left side of the potentiometer, and that routed D-pad left will go right to ground, therefore activating the left signal. And that's carried out through all of the other buttons that we're modifying, such as the ABXY, the home, share, start, and select. I don't care, I will forever call it start and select because that's what it is. And as you can see, it's a very simple modification. It's going to look absolutely ridiculous, and I'm here for it. So let's go ahead and wire all this up. And now it's time for my favorite part. We're going to wire up every single analog stick using strategically placed assorted lengths of ribbon cable. I'm kind of at a loss for words here, other than it looks ridiculous and also looks like something I would have made 5 years ago because it looks so ridiculous. So after gouging out a lot of plastic on the controllers, I wanted a way to kind of clean it up and also make it so the analog stick works the way it would work unmodified. So I went ahead and designed these 3D printed rings with like a little concave. This was actually the hardest part of this project because I'm still new to 3D printing even after owning one for like a year or two. A lot of the stuff still kind of is hard to catch on to, but I went ahead and after many trial and error I was able to design this thing, which is just a little cup similar to the one that's already on the controller that's going to go over the gouged out hole and give the stick more of a defined circle to travel around instead of a giant gouged out hole, plus just make it look cleaner. The hardest part about this was actually getting this concave to be almost perfect. Like the height and the curve was just the hardest thing to dial in, and it took a long time, more time than I thought it would. I think it took probably like 20 revisions, and I'm not even kidding. I have a lot of them in my scrap pile, but after a long time of dialing it in, I think I got it figured out. So I'm going to print these and install it on the controller and clean up those gouged holes. With the analog sticks all in place and the rings on top of the shell, we can go ahead and put the PCB back inside of the front half of the shell. Of course, the triggers on the Xbox controller have to be analog sticks as well, otherwise it'll just be a weird controller and we don't want that. So in order to accomplish this, I'll be using an unmodified analog stick mounted to a PCB that'll be epoxied in the bottom half of the shell. This analog stick will have wiring for one potentiometer and the tactile button to run in parallel with the LB and RB buttons respectively. Alright, so to test out this monstrosity, I loaded up a game that uses nothing but analog sticks for the main controls, so I can combine all the analog sticks for a horrible experience. We have Skate 3 running, and I'm going to try to do some tricks. This is a game I've been playing since Skate 1 for a very long time, so I'm pretty good at it. So let's go ahead and see how bad this is. So to push, I don't want to push Mongo, so I gotta hold right, I have to hold right on the right D-pad. Or right on the right analog stick. Trick, keep pushing. Now let's try a grab. So the grabs are done through this through the trigger sticks. This is so stupid. Yeah, this is dumb. Let's try Dark Catch. So Dark Catch is RB. You have to click in the analog. You have to click in the trigger analog stick to do a Dark Catch. Yeah, this is stupid. Let's try kicking out the board. There we go. And that's B, you stop. Oh, I'm already getting confused. Nah, I don't want Y. There we go. I don't want to push Mongo. Alright. This is so confusing. Alright, let's try doing a few gaps and I'll load up a vert park and really get confused with the analog sticks. Alright, so I want to set my session marker. So to do that, left trigger stick in, and then there we go. This is so confusing. Alright, there's a little something. Alright, let's load up a different park. So to do that, I hit start by throwing the middle analog stick. And now I'm going to navigate the menu. I'm already confused looking at this controller. There we go. So the trigger analog only goes down. Or, yeah, trigger analog sticks only go down. They don't go up. That's just not how they register. So let's see if I could find a vert park. Let's do Maloof Money. Dot. Let's do Maloof Money Cup. I'm going to do that again. And then down is A. We're going to travel there. This is so dumb. I'm not going to use this on any first-person shooters right now because I'm not really all that good at them anymore. I kind of lost my interest in them and therefore the ability to play them well enough to make it fun for me and entertaining for you. So I'm just going to leave that to the person I'm sending this controller to because I think they could make a better video out of that than I can. I just thought it would be fun to play an analog stick-based game with an analog stick-based monstrosity, and it's not horrible. It's not good. It's very confusing, but it's not horrible. It's just really weird throwing analog sticks in every direction just to get something to happen here. So let's try a backflip. 3 analog sticks for that one. Oh, this is stupid. There we go. Once, yeah, this is, I don't even want to say you can get used to it. I don't think you can. There we go. Alright, so that's it for this video. I think I've done enough testing with Skate 3 on this horrible controller to show that it is a huge pain to play with. Now, I'm sending this controller to Vkuda. He does a lot of Xbox One or Xbox controller reviews and all that stuff, and I figured this would be a fun controller to make him because he doesn't like the traditional analog sticks because of stick drift. So I thought a fun joke would be, how about a controller with nothing but analog sticks, and then send it to the guy that hates those analog sticks, the crappy stick drifty kind. I thought it'd be a fun little cheeky gift, and I think he'll have a lot of fun seeing this. I'm not sure if he'll make his own video on this. I didn't make this with the intent of him making his own video, but if he finds it interesting enough to make a video, I'll be sure to link that in the description of this video so you could check it out. I think if he does make a video, he'll have more fun showing off the first-person shooter aspect of this controller than I could, because I just don't play them that much anymore, and I don't think I will make it enjoyable enough for you guys. So that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.